501c3 and get the brothers who are a part of the organization to come up here. That way everyone can understand what this organization is all about and why we're doing what we're doing right now. I think that's crucial. I think Kylan, we have more people coming in, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. Peace and blessings, family. To get everybody to sign in real quick. All right, so Brother Nick, while everyone's getting sorted, I think we can go ahead and get started right now. Just talk about the mission of the Growth Spot, and I'll take it from there.
Absolutely. So first off, I wanted to take this opportunity to say peace and blessings to everyone. Peace and blessings. Oh, that was weak. Wait. Let's start that again. Peace and blessings, everyone.
Peace and blessings.
All right, awesome. That's better. I'm Brother Nakia, part of the Growth Spot, and we just want to, welcome you to this event. This is one of many, so we will talk a little bit later on about some of the events that we have that are coming up. But we just greatly appreciate your engagement, your involvement, and your participation in being here. Here at the Growth Spot, we are unified in equity growth, in equity growth, ancestry, cooperation, and yield. Our goal is to cultivate a community that's rooted in resilience and sustainability. That is our mission here at the Growth Spot. And so, that being said, this is a collective part of that opportunity that we have. So we thank you, we welcome you, and as we continue the journey into this particular event, we want to make sure that you understand as well that we have a couple things that are going on. We've got a raffle that's going on in the back as well. Everyone is signed in, correct? All right, good. And writing material, everyone has that needs writing material has writing material to be able to take notes. Okay? Perfect.
You said no?
Yeah, we can get some in your hands. We had some small ones. All right, so so to add more context, these brothers that you see up here, we all collectively went in together to get 37.5 acres of land in St. John's, Arizona, right? So we want to provide workshops and resources to help people not only learn how to obtain land, but how to work the land, right? So what do you do if you have an emergency, you need to take off to get to that land, or what do you need to do to secure it or grow food on it? We're going to be having a series of workshops that we're doing together. We do have a 501c3. This is the foundation part of that. So we're not charging for this event. We're going to be doing this regularly for the community, just to share whatever wisdom and experiences that we're gaining along on our journey. We want to share that with the community. So we're all family. At any point in this, raise your hand, ask questions. Any questions, okay. You can stop at any time and we can unpack that. But if you want to support us, you can go to our website, which is growthspot.org. You can give us donations, or you can support us with these raffles. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get it started. Everyone get situated. All right. So this workshop today is going to be on emergency go bag training. All right, what are the preparation essentials that you need to have ready if you want to get you and your loved ones to a safe location? But let's talk about why we need to have, a go bag training class. Unfortunately, we live in a world where it's not always safe, especially for certain cultures. We know that throughout history there are spasms of violence that occur with quite a lot of frequency. Almost like every 50 to 60 years, you could count it, where there's some type of uprising or moment where some people don't know how to behave, and you have rioting, and oftentimes people who look like us get hurt. We get it worse and we get it first, unfortunately, in a lot of these circumstances. Some of these pictures here are from what occurred during Hurricane Katrina. We all remember what was happening during that period of time. It only took about 2 days worth of the power being shut down, people being cut off from the grid, and for law enforcement to say we can't support any longer because it's an unsafe environment for everything in society to break down completely. You had people who were fighting over resources in grocery stores, at supply stores. People were being hunted by mobs. There were reports that black people were being shot in the streets as they were looking for safety. There are people who were being drowned, right? So we want to make sure that we're aware that if the grid were to shut down and people didn't have access to emergency services or power or your cell phone, that people have a plan, right? A plan of action that you have decided that it's more safe for you to remove your family from where you are than try to stay in your location, right? So does anyone, raise your hand if you know what the term bug in means or bug out? All right, so we have some preppers, right? So when we talk about bugging in, there's some guides that we are going to provide some resources for you. This is a Navy SEAL guide on what do you do when you need to bug in. A bug in situation means you are going to say, I'm going to make my shelter, my home, the fort that I'm going to stay in. I'm going to try to fortify that and have enough supplies in that location where I can outlast whatever situation is happening on the outside, right? And my apologies, I didn't really introduce myself. I'm getting started too fast. My name is Brother James, by the way. I spent 5 years in the Marine Corps. I was stationed down in Yuma, as a matter of fact. During that period of time, I received training on how to keep my troops safe, not only while we were on base, but more importantly, when they went out into the regular world. So there's different condition threat levels that we had to learn and ways that we keep our families safe by taking different routes and things of that nature, right? So some of the information I'll be sharing is from my time in the Marine Corps. I was also the chair of the Ministry of Defense for the Phoenix LOC for a period of time as well. So I've done these type of workshops for the community before to make sure as a village we could be safe if something were to go down, because it's better to be prepared and stay ready so that we don't have to get ready, right? Okay, so now that I got that out of the way, I can get back into the lesson. My apologies, family. All right, so let's talk about the essentials, all right? When you are putting a go bag together, you don't need to put everything under the sun in your backpack, okay? You want to make sure that for every adult, for each adult, and when I say adult, I'm talking about anyone who is able-bodied, strong enough to carry a backpack that weighs up to 40 pounds. That could be a teenager in your house that's about 14 years old, 15 years old and up. So young adults and adults. Each person who can carry a backpack should have a backpack. Everybody with me on that, family? So it's not just about having one backpack. It's about eventually, inevitably planning, buying bit by bit some of these items that I'm going to share with you. You don't have to get everything in one day. You start off with one and you start adding to it. Whenever you go to the store, whenever you have a little bit of extra money, you buy some resources that I'm sharing here. Now, if you shared your email with us, what we would do is share this presentation with you so that you'll have a lot more detail in those notes that you could go back and review later. We're going to share that with you, okay? So it's going to be a resource. I also have some links in here where it'll drive you directly to the Amazon page where you could purchase some of these items. But I want you to remember, you don't have to put everything in your backpack. What you want to do is look at these 4 categories. Ask yourself, do you have the things to help you set up some type of shelter or warmth, right? Whether that's a blanket or some type of tent, or maybe even a small sleeping bag that you could attach to your go bag. Or survival food. You want to make sure that you get some high calorie type meals that you could put inside your backpack that doesn't take up a whole lot of space. We're going to go over some examples of that as well. You want to make sure you have medical supplies, and you want to make sure that you have water. Now, out of all these things, out of all these categories, which of these that do you think is probably the most important out of all of them? Water. Water. We cannot survive a long time without water. You can go weeks without food. Right? We could drink green powder, right, and have all the essentials we need. You can have multivitamins and get away with it. You could have rice or beans or oats, things that don't take up a lot of space, and you could get through it. But without water, you're going to be in a hard place pretty soon. So we have some tools for that as well for you. But those are the 4 categories if you want to take note of that. Shelter, survival food, medical supplies, and water. All right. So let's talk about the go bag itself. Show of hands, who has a go bag already for their household? All right. Sister in the red right there. It seems like you brought a backpack. Is that your go bag?
Yeah.
Okay.
L.E.G.A.C.Y.
Got you. All right. I like it. All right. So this is an example of a go bag. Now, technically speaking, it could be any type of backpack. But ideally, you want to get a backpack that has a mole system. So if you want to take notes, write down MOLLE. A mole-ready system. A mole-ready system is something that has multiple compartments and zippers that allow you to add a lot of things in categories, right? So you don't want to just have a large duffel bag that has everything in it, because you want to make sure that when you're on the go in an emergency situation, if you need access to lighting a fire, you have equipment in a particular pouch for that. If you need water purification resources, you have a pouch just for that. You want to have a pouch just for your first aid equipment. So you want to organize your bag in a way that makes sense so that you get to the right tools and equipment at the right time, and you don't have to sort and pull everything out, grab the things you need, and then put everything back in, right? Because time and expediency is what's going to save your life. If it really was an emergency where you got that emergency tone on the TV or on your phone and you say, this is an emergency, we're broadcasting that XYZ, insert whatever crisis you could think of, whether, well, I won't go into scenarios because we have children here. But we all are grown folk and we know what's happening in the news right now, and we realize that sometimes crazy things can occur. If they happen like that, you need to not only plan what you're going to put in your go bag, but you also need to give some consideration where are you going to, right? And we'll touch on that a little bit later. That's why we have collectively decided to get land in St. John's, Arizona, to get away from the city in case something were to go down. Everybody needs to think about where your secondary location is going to be, whether that's Mexico, Canada, or your own land that you purchased. All right. So you want to get a mole-ready bag. A bug-out bag like this costs about $40 on Amazon. And how many bags should you have for your household? One for each adult, young adult, or able-bodied person in your household. All right. So let's start off with one of the main essential things that you want to get. When you are getting out of Dodge as quickly as possible, you don't know how long you're going to be gone for. So, Brother DeLon, can you do me a favor? Can you lift up one of those SOS water packets? When you purchase some of these emergency items, that right there is a pouch that you can rip open real quick and get hydration with all the potassium elements that you need in it. It'll help you survive. But those are limited. You can't say, oh, I got to get the whole family in the car real quick. We got to get out of here. So where's my case of water? It doesn't work that way, right? So ideally, you want to find some type of filter, some type of water filtration system, right? Who here has used a water filtration before in the past? Anybody? All right. So what you want to do is get ideally either a jerry can or what's called a water filtration straw. Now these are the ones that we're bouncing off of. And this is my personal one, right? I'll pass this around so you guys can see. But what you'll do is, let's say, even if it's like a canal or any water that you have or tap water, if the city shuts down and they're not taking care of their sewage systems, it doesn't take long, I think like 72 hours or something like that from a prepper standpoint, before that water will start having far too much organic life in there that can make you sick, or chemicals that have been released and etched into this piping system that will make you sick. So if you plug in, you stay in your house for a long time, or maybe you're on the road because you're trying to find your secondary location, you need to stop along the way to try to load up on water. You're not certain if that water is safe. In order to make sure that you have a better shot of not getting yourself or your family sick, you want to pour that water into a container like this. At the bottom, there's normally some type of filtration sieve here, and then you can close it on this can, you can drink it. And these filters are normally good for about 3 months worth of use. All right, they have a membrane in here that helps with carbon to pull out the contaminants. But these are not sustainable for a long period of time, but it definitely gets you out of an emergency situations. Now, there are some larger ones, I'm going to list them here as well, called jerry cans. We're going to get into that a little bit. But water straw is an essential item. If you want to take a look at that and pass that around, everyone can take a look at that. Now, there's some larger ones that we have here. So we're going to be raffling away 2 of these large water filtration water straws that you can add to your go bag when you get one or to your existing one. Does anybody have a question on the water straws just yet? All right, let's move. All right, so you want to get some type of stainless steel water bottle. You want to avoid plastic water bottles. Anybody know why trying to survive using plastic water bottles is a bad idea? Why?
Because the plastic and water bottles leach into the water and can use.
Exactly. Especially if your plastic water bottle is getting direct sunlight, right? You want to avoid that. Try to use stainless steel water bottles if you can, and they have rings on it, right? So one thing to note, you do not want to overpack your bag, and you don't want it to be too heavy. So that's why you want to make sure that every adult in your home has one, so that you don't have to feel the need to overpack one big bag, if that makes any sense, right? And for certain items like these water bottles, I do not want you to find ways to stuff it in your backpack. I want you to get the rings that you could attach, that can hang off your backpack, right? Have that ready to go, already pre-attached if you can. Down here you'll see that there are some water purification tablets. These potable, not portable, but potable aqua drops are about $10 on Amazon. Now, you can use this instead of doing the old technique, trying to boil your water or use an iodine. I don't trust that process, so I feel a lot more comfortable just dropping it in the tablets and go about my way. However, you can order these. This is what I have in my personal go bag instead of those. These are P&G purification water pouches. These right here, you tear one of these off, this will purify 2.5 gallons of water for you. All right? So you want to make sure that you have something like this handy. You can get this online, or you get potable aqua drops. Make sure that you have some way of purifying water, because you never know if you need to use water from maybe a well or from a canal or wherever. All right? So these are purification tablets. So you can, Google that broadly, and there will be a lot of different examples that will pop up. The one specifically I have here is called P&G. But the potable aqua is pretty popular as well. All right, let's go ahead and keep moving. All right, so this is the jerry can I was telling you about. This is on my bucket list to get. I don't have this personally yet. This is like $200. But a jerry can last you for quite a long time. This has about 3 years worth of use. It's like a large gasoline jug. Typically, they're about 20 gallons of water, but you can take that to a nearby creek or water source, and you can make sure that your bug out location, whether it's a campsite or wherever, you guys are going to be squared away as far as drinkable water. But that's a bucket list. It's going to be heavier. It's not something that necessarily you'll be able to carry with your bug out bag, but you want to have it right next to it. Which reminds me of another thing. Where should you store your bug out bag? Okay, by the front door. Okay, you said where? In the car, anybody else?
Do you have a back door?
You want to make sure that if an emergency were to pop off, you don't have to think about where it is. And ideally, I would put it in my car. I would make sure that at least one of my go bags is already in my trunk space at all times. Now, if you don't mind having your go bags near the front door, that's another location, as long as nobody else is running away with it and you have control of that space. I wouldn't have a problem with that. It's just, if it were to go down, how quickly can you access it and get everything in your vehicle and go? All right, really crucial. So location, 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 and remember expediency. The speed of getting to your equipment is going to be everything here. All right, so when we talk about the jerry can, we want that item to be in your vehicle. Keep the jerry can there if you have one. Keep a generator in your vehicle if you have one. You may not have time to pack all these things like you're moving, right? Depending on the situation. Yes.
And just in terms of storing the jerry can in your vehicle, is there a chance of deterioration from like being out in sunlight or in hot spaces?
Not hot spaces, but direct sunlight impacts all plastic, but this is high grade, right? So it's not going to break down as easily as a water bottle per se. So water bottles is something that I definitely would not encourage you to do. And not to mention, if I remember correctly, they have lining on the inside of the can to make sure you don't have leach. But that's a very good question. All right, so this is what I meant when I was talking about calorie-dense food bars. You know, the Marine Corps, other branches of service, we all have MREs,
Yeah.
meal-ready equipment, right? Don't sleep on the chicken and rice. You know, I grew up on that now. You know, I spent 5 years in the Marine Corps. We look forward to it.
You don't understand, man.
That's debatable. But then again, I don't want to, date myself with my age. But at the time I was in, we didn't have all the wonderful options that these new kids have now, right? So you even have M&Ms in those packets. So it was a joy for everybody. But those MREs have a shelf life of about 5+ years, if not longer. There's some people who tout that an MRE can last for about 30 years if you just keep it contained, right? But the reason why you want to go after calorie-dense food is because you want to make sure that you don't need to consume a lot to go a long way, right? So just a couple of bites. If you have to ration, if it were an emergency like that, you can't just eat the way you used to. It's going to be a completely different lifestyle change, and everyone will have to be disciplined on how much they consume each day, and it has to stretch. Now, because I've been weaning myself off of meat over the years, I'm fully prepared to have a complete plant-based diet. I recommend that everyone try to practice that to some degree. You don't have to go all out, but ask yourself, could you go a week just by eating a plant diet? Just to practice. If you are thinking about the size of things that you can place in your backpack, you want to avoid something that has a solid structure that takes up a lot of space, right? So if I like a lunch box, you want to put like a box in it because now you can't really pack and move things around, right? So imagine you had a Ziploc bag that had green powder, right? We all seen green powder before, where it has spirulina, spinach, all the different superfoods in it. You put that powder in a shake, and that's all the minerals and nutrients you need to survive. So I would pack Ziploc bags because it's malleable. You can shift it, you can move it around, and you can maximize the space. We'll get into clothes in a little bit, but there's techniques on how to fold your items to maximize space as well. All right, so let's talk about food. Yes?
Do those bars actually, what do they taste like?
They taste horrible.
Okay.
They're not built for taste.
Yeah, this is survival. This is survival. Now, if it's about taste, then what I do, and I have this ready, and the brothers will tell you, I bring this bag with me when we go camping on the land. So this is a collapsible plate and bowl, and I always bring packets of oatmeal with me, right, for taste. but it's not sustainable, right? So you want to, and I'll pass this around so you guys can see, but these are collapsible bowls, right? That way you could put a cup of your oatmeal, whatever, in here, and you're good to go. And it's not going to take up a lot of space whatsoever, right? It'll fold right back in here. And then you want to have food utensils and maybe a plate, right? So all these items fit in here, and you can get this online. Normally, I would suggest that you could go to Walmart, right, and go to the camping section and be able to get these items for like $5, but I'm not going to direct anybody to go to Walmart these days. Right? You figure out where you want to get your resources. I know where I'm getting mine.
Oh, nice.
All right, so this is something that you want to keep in mind unless you want to just eat straight from your hand. This is a luxury item. This is not an essential item, right? So if you have enough space, or preferably you have enough backpacks for each adult, now you can say, okay, this backpack's going to have some items, this backpack's going to have some items, this pack's going to have some. Now, if you're going to separate and have multiple backpacks, question. Should you have, let's say, all your food in a single backpack, or should food be distributed evenly amongst all of them? Right. Right, so those 4 categories I was talking about: shelter and warmth, water, food, medical supplies. A little bit of those items need to be in every go bag. Now, when each of those go bags have those main essentials, now you can say one go bag is going to have my radio equipment. Another is going to have this or that. Now you can get specialized, right? But then you want to make sure you bring all the backpacks with you. All right. Let's move on.
Question about the water. Going
Sure.
back to that real quick.
Yeah.
Is there any water sources that, like, you shouldn't drink from, as far as how effective the purification systems are?
Ooh. The only no when it comes to something like this would be if something were contaminated with radioactive material, right? So if there was, a nuclear attack or something like that, that's the only time. But even you could drink toilet water, sewage water with the jerry can, as long as you can see through it. If there's discoloration in the water, and more importantly, if you smell it, you want to use your senses. If you smell it and it smells pungent, it is unsafe no matter what you do. If you look at a body of water and you kind of look at it at an angle and the light hits it and you see that rainbow film on it, it means it has some type of chemical solution in that water. Do not use that. Does that make sense? All right, so that's a good question. So that would be something I would encourage each of you to write down in your notes, because that's not going to be in the presentation. How to select water. You want to use your senses. You want to look for a rainbow-like film, and you also want to use your sense of smell to see if it's pungent. You could tell, your body will let you know.
Thirdly, you want to try to find a source where the water is moving, as opposed to going after a source where the water is standing. Standing water is most likely going to be contaminated,
right,
or have some different impurities that are going to be difficult to purify.
Correct.
But if you have a source where the water is running and moving, most likely that is something that is more safe for you to drink.
Right. That would be ideal. Sometimes, unfortunately, you may not have that option. Sometimes you may have found a puddle of water after a rain. Maybe you're bugged out in the campsite and you need to get water. Maybe you are capturing rainwater, right? There's different systems you can do depending on how long you're out in the elements. But if you have to choose a standing pool of water, use those tips and you should be fine. All right. Braided fishing line. I didn't bring any fishing line with me. But the ability to hunt for your own food, depending on how long you're going to be out and about, is going to be crucial, right? So if you are going to find a space, finding a space with a nearby body of water, like a creek or a river, right? This is like going to old school humanity survival skills. Find an area where you can forage for fruits and vegetables, and or find a water source where you can fish. Now, Nika, do you remember the name of that website for foraging in the city? The city provides a website that let you know all the different places in the city where they have planted edible trees, whether it's lemons or walnuts or pecans or different types of vegetables that you could ground and use in a drink or make bread out of. So they have a list of all those edibles. She'll help me find it in a little bit, but I'll share that with you. So if you're foraging in a city and you're moving from place to place, there are locations that you could go to where you could grab fruit off a tree.
Fallen fruit?
Something like that.
That's it. Fallen fruit. And then there's also Southwest Foragers.
Yes, Southwest Foragers. So it was fallenfruit.org or .com? .org. All right, fallenfruit.org. You'll thank me later. That way, what I used to encourage the members of the Phoenix LLC to do was go to that website, map the areas nearby your home within a certain radius, and say, okay, if something were to go down and I need to make sure I have some way of going out, grabbing food and bringing it back to my spot, I can do so and know the closest locations I can get to some food that I can forage. But for us, we're not going to be trying to find a location within the city. We're going to try to get as far away from the city as possible. But everybody has their own idea of what's a safe space. All right, so a fishing line is something that you can use, especially if you have this device. Has anyone ever heard of a yo-yo fishing reel before? Write this down or keep note of this. I shared a link in this presentation so that when we email it to you, you'll be able to see a video on it and watch how it's actually used. But basically, you can rig this to a tree, or you could rig it to a, like a body of rocks, but you can put it nearby a river source or a lake, and you can leave it alone. What this would do is a self-reeling in catching a fish. So you put it in the line, and when fish grab it, it will pull in. As it gets tugged, it will pull in. So the more the fish resists, the more it will reel it in and reel it in and reel it in. And you can come back and catch fish so that if you need to set this and then go do something else, like build a fire, do whatever you need to do, take care of yourself, you can come back and this will be squared away from you, right? So there are instructions on how to do it. This is ideal because you don't have to worry about a rod, right? And it's all about maximizing space, and it checks that box if you have access to fishing for you to be able to survive. I also have a tackle box here. Everybody knows about a tackle box, right? You get these anywhere, but you want to get something that is as flat as possible. Why? Because you don't want to take up a lot of space, right? And I also have here a laminated waterproof reminder of how to tie every one of the knots that I used to learn when I was in the military, right? Because I practice every day. I need my cheat code. You probably want to get one of these too. That way, not only can you tie a proper fishing line hook, but you can use it for all different types of things for survival and building shelters. All right, so if you have a portable light stove, they have a lot of different camping grills. These are extra items, not something that I would put in my go bag because I'm trying to maximize space, but I listed here as some of the items you can get. Slingshots. Slingshots are things that you can use to hunt and also protect yourself. It doesn't take up a lot of space. They're long range, and you'll be amazed how accurate they are. No matter what your ability level is, everybody can pull something back and aim, shoot, fire, and you'll be amazed what you could do with that. So I strongly suggest you get something like this. This one right here is only about $30, and it comes with like 100 pellets in the whole kit. All right, so clothing and warmth items. All right, so rule number one when it comes to this, only carry as much clothing as you need for survival. So the beauty about a roll bag is you can have a separate pouch back here in the back that is enough for you to put 2 sets of clothing in here if you want to, right? but everybody folds differently, right? So you can't just, you can't be lazy with it. You can't just do a couple folds. You have to fold and do the rolling method, right? And use some hair ties to hold things in the rolls, right? So there's some minimalist ways to fold in a way where you're maximizing space. But in the military, we have our system. Try to maximize as much as you can here. Do not fill up more than one pouch or containment area for your clothes. You only need one set of clothes per adult for an emergency go-back situation. I recommend that you do something that has good durability because you never know how long you're going to be using that item. So jeans, there's some other type of work pants. If you do construction, like what are some pants that you will wear in construction that would be durable?
Art is a popular brand that has really durable fabrics, which is similar to jeans.
Yeah, and they have a lot of compartments, things in there. So I would put something like that, like overalls, where it gives you some protection up top. You have some areas where you can put like a flashlight, your knife, everything. Anything with a lot of pouches, a lot of pockets, that's where you want to go, right? So don't think anything about this. It's not about your designer jeans. It's not about looking cute. It's about surviving. Make sure it's durable, and make sure that you have a lot of container or pouches and pockets. All right. So when it comes to undergarments, your undergarments, you want to make sure that they are quick drying. That you're looking for compression-like garments, right? So Under Armour is great for having compression gears. This is crucial because you want to make sure that it's breathable and it can dry quickly. So if you had to get through maybe a creek or a river or water, because you got to get to the other side, we're wading in the water. You want to make sure you can dry out quickly, right? So that is important for your socks. If you had to get socks to keep you warm, get wool, please. If anything, the most important garments that you have to have are your socks. This diagram is a picture of trench foot. In the military, we talk about foot wellness on a regular basis because when we march for miles and miles and miles, you never know how long you're walking. Your socks will get moldy and saturated with a lot of moisture, and if your feet are submerged in water too long, you'll get something called immersion foot syndrome, where it'll start to peel and pus and peel off, right? So you want to make sure you take care of your feet, which is why they say every 2 miles of walking, you change your socks. You let one air out while you put the other one in, and then you rinse, repeat, and keep that going. All right, so write that down if that's new knowledge for you. But taking care of your feet is everything, especially if you don't know how long or far you're going to be walking. All right. Every 2 miles, you want to change your socks of a forced walk. And I would imagine at least once a day you change your socks. If you're not doing a lot of walking, but just as a rule of thumb, change your socks regularly. All right, survival gloves. These are one of the essential things. There's some other small things here. I'm not going to really go into much detail, but the survival gloves is what you want. Something that is tear resistant. So if you are going to
Liberty
get
Mutual
gloves,
is all she talks about since we saved hundreds by bundling our home and auto insurance.
It's pronounced Liberty. Can you take that glove and punch glass to break something open? Right? They have gloves specifically for that use. Poncho with a hood. All right, so I believe in the 250 piece, there should be a poncho with a hood. These right here cost about $20 because of the durability of it. But you could get a pack of ponchos for like $5, right? And they'll take care of the whole family. But you don't want to get something that will rip easily if you were in the forest and like just any little small thing rips or tear. You want to make sure that whatever item you get over time that is going to last for a long period of time because you never know how long you're going to need it. Luckily, it doesn't rain that much here in Phoenix, but you don't know where you might be going to, and you're not sure about those conditions. So let's plan ahead. That does not take up a lot of space, and if you get one with a pouch like this, again, I recommend you use the rings to attach it to your go bag so you're not taking up that much space. Also, probably one of the more important things, everybody has to have a good amount of these in your backpack. Anybody know what these are?
Hand warmers.
Hand warmers. These are not just hand warmers. These are foot warmers. So what I do, I put these in my boots. I'll put this in my sleeping bag. I'll put these on my gloves, right? You want to stay warm as possible. It gets pretty cold up north. What was the coldest temperature we noticed up in St. John's?
When we were there, or just in general?
Well, when we were there, it was pretty cold too.
Yeah, it was pretty cold. I think it got down close to the high 30s.
Yeah. It can get in the negatives when you're trying to go up north, right? So just keep that in mind. At night is going to be entirely different, and we live in desert conditions, which means it gets extremely hot during the day, but that temperature drops rapidly at night, which is why in order to survive, shelter and warmth is going to be huge. I'm not sure if I had it on the thing here, but this right here is one of the things that we're going to be raffling off. These are emergency thermal blankets, right? They look like aluminum foil, really large, but this will keep you from getting frostbite or shivering to death in the elements. You want to use this with a sleeping bag, but if this is the only thing you had, if this is the only thing that was available in your go bag, you will survive. All right, for here, we're talking about tents. All right, so here is what I have. You can get this for each of your go bags. It doesn't take up a lot of space. This is a life tent. This pulls out and is similar to this description right here. You can use a system of paracord. I'll talk about this as one of the miscellaneous items pretty soon. But you want to get these. As many of these as you can. Every go bag should have this. I'll go into more detail later, but this is called paracord. This does everything as far as if you watch any type of survival video, they talk about making all types of things. Between duct tape and this, you could create anything you need to survive. So to draw the line so that you could pull your tent down for shelter, you use this from branch to branch, from post to post, anything that is stationary, tie this. But you can use this for any number of things, even making traps. What now?
They're made up in bracelets.
Yes, there's braids that you can unravel. Yes, very good. Okay, so boom, right? So this is the tack bivy that I was describing here. And you also want to get a sleeping pad if you're not used to being out in the elements. The sleeping pad takes up a whole lot of space, so be mindful. But if you are uncomfortable about what that life might mean, you may want to invest in it over time. Again, for something like a sleeping pad, don't try to stuff it in your backpack. Make sure that you roll it up and you tie it to the bottom of your backpack. Yes, ma'am.
Do you use it in place of a sleeping bag?
No, ma'am. Normally what you'll do is you use the pad on the ground because it may be rocks, it may be uneven, it may be kind of uncomfortable. So you want to place that down and put your sleeping bag over it, or sometimes they can fit in the sleeping bag and that's what you're sleeping on top of. But that way it's not as uncomfortable as possible. Some people don't have the time to clear their space for a tent area. You just have to stop where you are and that's where you're going to rest. And in those scenarios, a pad is really going to help you out if you're not about that life. Just saying. All right, so that paracord grenade is what I was talking about here. This is one thing I suggest everybody have. There's 1,000,001 use cases for zip ties. Zip ties, zip ties, zip ties. You can do a lot of things here, from crafting weapons to securing items. You never know what your brain has to think of creatively, like MacGyver. Remember, zip ties is a huge one. Doesn't take up a lot of space either. Now, I have some small ones in there, but technically speaking, I would recommend the long ones. That way, depending on the use case, you can always make it as short as you want, but you can't make it longer, right? So if you had to, at least have a stash of some large, long zip ties if you can. All right, so let's talk about fire starting equipment. Fire starting equipment. Lighters or matches? What do you think is the preferable thing here? Matches, right? You can bring a lighter. If you do purchase a lighter, try to get one that is high wind resistant, right? So if it's blowing really fast, it has a little torch, right? But the only problem with that, you're gonna run out of flammable liquid quick, right? So in a pinch, yeah, bring it. But what you really want to make sure you have is campfire ready matches. Now, when you match like these, they stay lit longer than a regular match. That way you're not going through matches trying to light and the wind comes and you gotta start again. Oh, no, it goes in. And you keep doing it. These are wind resistant as well, but this is really where it's at, right? So you want to get a flint starter where you could hit it and get the sparks. Now, this requires practice to get down, but whatever tool you get, make sure that you spend time working and practicing until you are ready and comfortable. All right. So whenever you get your go bag ready to go, be sure to camp with it from time to time. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. All right. So if anyone has questions about this, you can talk to me about that later, and I can walk you through that process. All right. Let's see here. Boom. This is that high resistant, windproof or waterproof electrical lighter I was telling you about. Now, tinder. We're going to talk about tinder. Anybody know what tinder is? All right, so when we are talking about starting a fire, right, you have three different types of fuel sources. You have kindling, you have tinder, and you have fuel. Fuels are large logs of wood or combustibles. Those are the big and heavy ones. It's going to take forever to burn. But to get the fire started, you want to use a combination of kindling and tinder. So tinder would be like branches, little small branches that have been dried off. You don't want to find something that you saw from a tree that still has fluid and life in it. You want to find something that has been rotting for a while. That way it'll spark really quick. But you want to take some branches and put it around and maybe get some leaves and some hay, some old grass, and you put it in that space. The kindling is a smaller element that catch on fire quickly that will turn into a good blaze with the tinder. And now, once that's going, you add on the larger fuel items, right? Because a large block of wood is not just going to catch on fire like that. You'll be sitting there forever trying to light a match to it. You want to find something that will light quickly. One of the best things you could do for this, in my opinion, is either cotton balls and Vaseline are ideal. You can use chapstick. Or you could say, I want to get candles. Get little birthday candles. Melt a candle down to wax. Dip the cotton ball in it. And now that one little cotton ball you'll have will light several different camp areas if you have tongs. Right? So cotton balls are huge. And I think we'll get into tampons in a little bit. But don't sleep on tampons. Cotton. 100% organic. You'll thank me later. Yes.
What about dryer?
Yeah, you can use dryer sheets.
No, the lint. Like
Oh, yeah, that.
trap, like in a.
Yeah, when you pull out the filter, you have the trap of the film. That's a unique thought. It's combustible, and it could be broken up lightly. You definitely could. You definitely could.
I keep it in like old prescription, like one old prescription bottle, and like an old prescription bottle of Vaseline.
Okay, yeah, you could definitely do that. I have seen models where people do use their medicine pill bottles as containment resources for cotton balls, for things like that, to put things like Vicks or Vaseline in these things, because you can easily label it and say this is what it's for and store it in compartments that are accessible. So I would recommend that. I'm just used to thinking just cotton balls, but that is a very unique, clever way. As long as it's combustible, it's light, it can be broken up into smaller components, so you can use only what you need, even better. All right, so magnifying glass. Why is this critical? Fire. All right, so something to note. If you are going to be purchasing a magnifying glass in order to use it to help you start fires, notice how when you buy a magnifying glass, it will say 10x, 30x, 50x. And it'll also give you a description of the diameter, right, of the lens. In order to start a fire, this is something you probably want to write down. The lower the magnifying power, the easier it is for you to use sunlight to burn. So you don't want to go higher than 10x. 30x is not going to help you. You would think that, oh, the more magnifying power, the better. But that's what you see on your end, not the bottom part. So it X's out this way, and it X's down this way. Does that make sense? Right? You could use it. It's hard to do that way. It's not as easy as it seems. But if you're going to get a magnifying, I recommend getting a magnifying glass like this. You want to make sure that it's at least 3.5 inches in diameter or wider, and as low as 10x in order to use it for the old school way of getting that little hole, burn, so that you can start fire that way if you want to use it for this case. But there's another use case for your magnifying glass, and that is going to be for your map. Right? Everybody should get a map that is laminated and waterproof of the city and the state highways. Right? That way, you know which roads not to take. In an emergency situation, it may not be wise for you to take the normal highways that everybody else is trying to take. If you are caught in a traffic jam, which may be there for hours on end, you are wasting fuel. Fuel would be more important than gold if the grid were to shut down. And you do not have time to wait there in traffic. Stop and go, just to get to the next exit. It may be safer for you to already have mapped out and plotted your course to take back roads to get to your desired location. Everybody with me on that? All right, especially when we're talking about getting out of the main city area. And I don't know about you, but I have my cheaters right here. I can't see anything anymore. I'm about to turn 50 this year. I'm feeling some kind of way about myself. So I need magnifying glass to look at the map appropriately so I could help my family get to safety. All right, so you see here, I also have listed a small waterproof storage container. That as well is on my bucket list. I don't have that yet. Ideally, you want to have something that has your personal information documents safe and waterproof. What am I talking about? I'm talking about your birth certificate, social security card, your insurance card, information that you want to remember, maybe your bank account, whatever you need to keep with you in case you need to, because you don't know if you come back, you even have your house. You don't know what you're leaving, whether it's going to be still there when you return. So think about that, right? So you want to have copies of these elements that are either laminated or secured in a waterproof container. All right, so let's talk about first aid equipment briefly, and we'll move on. All right, I think we have some first aid equipment right there, that orange right there. Boom. All right, so you want to make sure that you have first aid equipment. One of the biggest things is making sure that you have a roll of gauze, right? Because when we're in the elements, you never know how severe a wound you might get. So you want to make sure you have enough to wrap around something or to stop the bleeding of something that is really punctured. So gauze to stop the bleeding is everything. And there's different guides on how to tie a tourniquet, which is why paracord is going to save you, right? You can use it for any number of things, including using it along with a stick to twist and twist and twist and cut off circulation if someone has a severe wound on their extremities. Surgical tape is also something that you would normally find in a first aid bag. But does anybody know what moleskin pads are? Say it louder. Right. So this is going to be for when you're walking for a long period of time. Your feet are going to be everything. Nothing is more important than your feet in survival. Peace, brother. So you want to make sure that you take care of it by padding the areas that start to get sore after you're walking for a long time. Moleskin pads have an adhesive. You tag it to the bottom of your heel, on the bottom of your foot, on the top of your foot, anywhere that is uncomfortable because it's chafing and because it's starting to get raw, or blisters, those bunions. You don't know you have bunions, you have to walk a long period of time. These pads will save your life. You can watch some videos on it. I would keep a sheet of that in your backpack if you don't know how long you're going to be out in the elements, right? I would also recommend some type of antiseptic like Neosporin. There's a tube, have that handy. But most of these have some type of ointment, right? They have like little packets you can rip open. Antibiotic, antiseptic ointments is what you want to try to add, and then some type of painkiller. So whether it's Advil, Motrin, whatever is safe for you and your family, try to keep some type of painkiller because while you're on the elements, somebody's back gonna hurt. All right, so this is what I'm talking about as far as triple antibiotic ointment. That will keep you safe from getting anything infected. That's like medical grade. Vaseline is really, really huge as far as chapped lips, keeping your skin moist, but it also is useful for the fire starting. That's why you always want to ask yourself, can this be used for multiple things, not just one purpose? So you can find something that has multiple purposes, perfect. But should you keep that Vaseline in a big old container it comes with? No. That's why you want to find creative ways. Ziploc bags, don't sleep on it. I'll put everything in a Ziploc bag because it's malleable. It allows me to maximize my pouch space. But if you want to use pill bottles, I think that's wise too. Alcohol prep pads, tweezers. Tweezers are very useful because now you can use that to place things, right? If you need to pull things, if you need maybe, you use it for your fishing line. Tweezers will help you if you don't have a steady hand. A lot of use cases for tweezers. So have a set of tweezers available as well. A field notebook, crucial. You want to get one that is waterproof if you can, but you want to take note of different things. Let's say you have a location you're going to and you want to give yourself some cliff notes like, the cactus on the side, okay. You want to give yourself key landmark indicators or notes. I checked this location. This area is clear. Or this is the frequency radio station that I agreed upon with the brothers that we're going to use in case of an emergency. What's that frequency? Right? So some things that you want to remember to write in your book before you leave, I will put in your go back. So things that you want to remember like phone numbers, account information. You can write that in this book and keep it in your go bag so that in case you were to go, you may not be able to trust your cell phone to provide that information for you. Right? You may not be able to go to your Google Docs and access the internet anymore, right? So be sure to write those essential pieces of information in a pad. And if you had to choose between a pen with ink or pencil, which is the preferred one to get? Pencil. Pencil, pencil, pencil. All right. Mini toothbrushes. If you're going to get toothbrushes, not essential. But you probably want to get it, right? Now, if you had to get someone that's folding, a folding toothbrush as opposed to, a regular standard one, floss is extra. This is what I'm talking about. Let's talk about tampons. A lot of use cases. Now, on this presentation I'm going to share with you, if you click on these links, there will be videos that will point to how to use tampons as a water filtration system, as a fire starter, as an emergency bandage, emergency candle, bottle cork, emergency compress, survival bait, insulation, you name it. It's all about tampons. It's all about what? Don't sleep on it. All right. But if you were to get it, make sure that you avoid something that has chemicals in it. Right. So if you're going to pack it in your go bag, be sure to get something that is 100% natural cotton. Now, I don't need to pack cotton balls if I have tampons, right? You see, now I can say, okay, does this have multiple use cases? Not to mention I have a family, 2 daughters and a beautiful wife. Tampons may be crucial at some point. All right. So that being said, let's keep it going. All right. Well, while we're talking about it, survival knife. We'll just stay here until this thing starts to act right. All right. So survival knife. You want to have different types of blades that you have handy, right? Whether it's a small knife, one with a serrated edge so that you can cut branches or any other type of item. And probably one of my favorite items, a hatchet. Now, if you play your cards right, you want to get one that has some type of wedge. You can use this to turn and screw and tighten things. So you can use this as a handle to tighten objects or to help you shape out maybe a spear point or different tools that you may need to create and craft on your own. But this is going to be very, very handy. All right, so I didn't have one to bring, but this is a multi-purpose tool. Right, so if you can have one of these in your backpacks, you got one? Perfect, perfect, perfect. A multi-purpose tool typically will allow you to have access to pliers, to some type of cutting, some type of like screwing device, like a screwdriver, right? You even got a nail file in here, right? So we want to get something that has many use cases that don't take up a lot of space. The smaller the better. So this right here is actually ideal. Doesn't take up a lot of space, and you can use it for a lot of different types of things, right? So multi-purpose pliers. All right. Well, we got a survival compass. Now, inside each of those, there is a compass that you can find in here. Let me see if I can get this open. Yeah, this one, I gotta use mine. I got it twisted too hard. But basically, you want to get a compass so you can find true north, right? There's ways to do it with the elements, where you're looking up and determining where east and west is based on where the sun is setting or rising. You can make sense of that. But a compass is always healthy. Because this thing is acting up, I'm just going to go through this last. There we go. Boom. Perfect. All right, so we had a portable solar charger that I was going to show, but we let our son get ours. But when we're out there, your power source is going to be everything, right? So this, at this point, I wouldn't even say this is optional. This is mandatory. Mandatory. You should have at least 2 of these in your travel equipment. Probably put 1 in each go bag if you can, but at least 2. This is going to not only power, let's say, things like your cell phone, which are critical. Okay, so when you have service again, you're able to still stay in communication with people and see what's going on. But for things like this, we're going to be raffling this away. This is a solar-powered hand crank radio. Now, you could use the charger on here, but it also allows you to charge it with something like this as well, right? So if you can get one of these, which, how much do these cost, Ben?
I paid $25 for mine, and it has a flashlight on it and everything too.
Yeah. All right. So illumination tools. All right. So you always want to have one of these small ones, right? So you want to get a small mag light like this. You want to get a camp light that you can put in your tent if you want to. All right. Not an essential item, but I would recommend it. And then, right here. This right here is a small wire saw. Anybody know how to use this? Right? So, I won't put you on the spot, Dwayne. All right, but basically, it has a ring on each side, right? You can do it together as a team, right? You have somebody on the other side, on this side, and you pull. You pull. You can wrap it and twist and pull both sides. One person can do it by themselves. If you have 2 people, you can use that. But this will allow you to cut branches of wood and other items, even some type of metal items. It'll take a long time, but this will cut through a lot of things. Say it out loud. Oh, this is Brother Dwayne. This is my martial art partner right here. He's talking about using this for self-defense. Yes, you can use this for self-defense. What do you call it? Right? Just in case it went down, you get your John Wick life on. All right, so this is what I was talking about, that hand crank radio. Okay, so when you are selecting the radio that you want, because you want to make sure that you're able to hear what is happening. Is the emergency over? Are we back to normalcy? Can we come back home? You got to have some type of listening device. The most crucial things I want you to remember is A, does it have access to the NOAA, right? So I'm trying to remember what that acronym is for. It's the National. I'm drawing a blank, but basically this is what gives you all of the weather and emergency alerts, right? Where there's like a broadcast. This is how you stay on top of that. Okay, make sure you look for that NOAA, and then also ask yourself, how can you charge it on a sustainable level, right? So keep that in mind. That's what you're looking for. Can you charge it easily, either with solar power, or many of these will say hand crank, where you could turn it and turn it and turn it and turn it, and the kinetic energy that you're building by turning it powers it for a period of time. If you use a hand crank methodology, it's only going to give you power for about 5 or 10 minutes, but at least you can hear what's going on. But solar power is the primary way. Now this one has a flashlight on it as well, but just realize the more power you use, the more often you're going to have to charge it up. That makes any sense, right? I believe you could also use this to charge your cell phone. So because this is a solar powered device, you can charge your phone using this, right? So if you needed to charge your phone, you can crank just to get a bar of life. Protect your smartphone. Get one of those otter cases if you can. If you want to put like this case in your backpack and have it ready to go in case of an emergency, and then go back to your designer one, you handle your business. But try to have one of these in there because you never know how long you're going to be in the elements. All right, so this is on my bucket list to get as well. I don't have one of these to show, but this is a multifunctional survival whistle. Again, you want to jam pack as much as you can into one device. These whistles can be used to communicate with someone that you're working with that went to go forage somewhere else. Maybe they're searching some property. Maybe they went that way, you went that way. You want to make sure they know that you're at the rendezvous site. You can give a quick whistle. Or more importantly, these are used to scare off wildlife, because you never know where you go. May have mountain lions, may have coyote. You blow this really loud, the high-pitched noise of it can startle and keep a distance of some animals that may get too close to you. So not an essential item, but very useful.
But those also have flashlights and compasses on them too.
Correct. So that's why you want to like jam pack as much as you can in these multifunctional survival whistles. Like this one, for instance, has a light source and a compass on it. And I believe it has a component that pulls out where you can have like fishing line in there, right? So there's different types. So look for something that has multiple use cases. All right, so firearms. You're not going to put a rifle in your backpack. However, there are foldable rifles you can get, and there's pistols you can get. If there's any type of firearm that you want to put in your emergency go bag, anybody have an idea of what the most commonly used ammunition is out there? A 22. 22. Right? So get a .22 LR type device, and whenever you go to any type of supply store that you're trying to forage, you're looking for rounds. Who has bullets? You know, you're playing one of those video games. What's the type of bullet that drops all the time? This is the universal bullet that can be used for all types of firearm devices. So if you're going to get anyone, I would say a 22. Now, a 22 seems like, oh, well, what's that going to do? Everyone's thinking about getting like a 9 or like these Glocks, these things that have a large capacity to blow a hole in something. What matters most is accuracy. Does that make sense? You can shoot a 22 that doesn't have a lot of recoil, that doesn't have a lot of kickback. You want to make sure that when you aim at something, it's going to put a hole in that thing. It doesn't matter how large of a hole it is. Accuracy is what matters. Another reason to get a 22. Lastly, if you're to use a 22 to hunt game, A 22, the round, is not going to destroy the meat that you're trying to use later. Does that make sense? So you're trying to take up the least amount of real estate when you enter that body, when you're hunting. Right? So accuracy, make sure that you can find that round anywhere, and it's something that you can repurpose for hunting. Survival bows, right? There are foldable survival hunting bows that you can get to add to this. I like the idea of having a bow because you can repurpose that weapon again and again and again and again. And if worst comes to worst, I can craft and devise my own additional arrows depending on how long I'm out there. All right?
They're quieter.
Yes. And they don't make any noise, right? Especially if we're in a Walking Dead type situation. Yeah. You'll thank me later. All right. So, this carabiners. This is mission critical. This is not, I know I kind of have a miscellaneous area, but actually, this is something that everybody needs to get. You can get like a set of 10 of these for $10. All right, so Amazon all day, but get as many of these as you can because you never know the different use cases. You can use this while you're building your shelter. You can use it to add additional things, obviously, on your go bag. You can connect things. This will save your life. And it can help when if you need to climb something.
Make sure they're not the ones with the latch.
Yes, right. So very good point. So these right here have the ones that you could screw in. To his point, they're the type where you can just simply do the latch pull. Don't do that because it's difficult to move things off of it once a lot of weight has been distributed on it, right? So the ones with these type of winches are ideal for survival purposes. This is what I think you're talking to about that braided wrist thing. Now this one has a compass on it, and you can pull out the rope if you needed to in a pinch. I'll go through some of these other items a little bit later, but this is another tool that will fall in the miscellaneous items. This right here is a glass breaker, right? So you press this at the edge of a windshield of a vehicle, it pops and shatters, and now you can gain entry quickly. When you get into a building, I'm not doing this to rob people's houses. I'm just saying, have it in your go bag because you never know. Now, from a martial arts standpoint, this is a very useful tool. This is what we like to call pain compliance. All right, those who know. All right, so this is an interesting device. I recommend that you get one. Again, about $15. These things individually don't cost a lot of money, which means you don't have to buy all these things in one go. Just bit by bit, maybe you make it a monthly thing. You have a budget. Maybe that budget is $20 a month. You put money aside and you get these items. But I would recommend getting something like this. This is a survival card, and it comes with fishing hooks. The outline for spearheads, they have the metal ones, but it also gives you the ability to trace and carve and create your own. There's ways you can melt down certain types of metals and start creating your own items and serrated edges, right? So I want you to take note of that and try to find jigs like this. All right, so this is a jig. This will help you craft tools, lay out a map, strings. There's a cutting device on it, so you want to try to get prearranged design sets in cards like that. But if you just look up Tiny Survivor card, you'll find it online. I would recommend you get this if you're not used to making it yourself. It makes it easy just to trace. Let's talk about duct tape. Duct tape is up there with tampons, right? So between tampons and duct tape and rope, that's a survival kit. Anything from patching up your clothes to crafting weapons to providing a safe shelter, anything you could think of. If you need to make something stick and hold together, that's it. You can make rope out of duct tape by cutting it in half and twisting it, right? There's ways to do almost anything. You name it, right? I've seen people make buckets so that if you have a water source and you need to carry that water back to your area, this makes a waterproof bucket that you can use to transport water. 1,001 use cases. So every go bag should have at least one roll of duct tape. So write that down in your notes as an essential item. Please don't sleep on duct tape or tampons. This is extra. I mean, it depends on how you want to go, how far you want to go down a prepper rabbit hole. But a gas mask, some type of air filtration would matter. I don't want to freak everybody out, but depending on the nature of the emergency, it might come in handy. I did list family photos here. Morale matters, right? So between family photos, maybe playing cards, that way you keep the mind active. I would do that. Games, yeah, like a chessboard, anything that will be durable, that can help distract will be important. You know, they have playing cards that will teach you how to identify different plants. Right? So if you're going to have playing cards and you have kids with you or you want to learn yourself, I would have educational playing cards if you're going to be out in survival. Just a thought. All right? So here you will see a survival watch might be important to have. I wouldn't wear it out, but if you're going to have one, make sure that the one you have is solar. So this particular one that I have listed here is a solar watch, so you don't have to worry about it just failing on you one day. But I wouldn't wear it regularly. Keep that in your go bag. All right. So,
What was the mosquito head net?
yeah. So you want to get mosquito cloth that either you can use to protect your shelter space from mosquitoes, or you have the kinds that you can put over your head while you're walking. So it'll be see-through, light mesh, where you can put over your head. If mosquitoes are attacking you left and right, it's a way you keep yourself safe, because you never know where you might be trying to pitch a tent or whatever. All right, so these are trekking poles for those of you who may not be able to walk wherever you need to. These are fit in your bag. They're collapsible. These are a bit pricey, so it's not an essential item, but if you need assistance, these are some things I want you to consider. Again, you're all going to have these items in that list laid out for you here in the essential list versus the extra wish list. So I broke that down for y'all, right? So extra, essential, okay? All right, now let's start off with some raffling. Let's raffle some items off. Yes? I'm so sorry. Okay. My wife is an urban farmer, and she's very big on sustainability. And we have a number of books here to help you with what that looks like as far as planning your canning methodology and growing food in a survival situation. You can look at some of the titles that we have here. But yes, in our go bag, we do have survival seeds. This has a variety of heirloom seeds. And anybody know why, if you're going to get survival seeds, why you want to pick heirloom seeds in particular? Anybody know?
They usually produce.
Well, they're not genetically modified.
Well, Nika, I don't want to speak for you.
Heirloom seeds are passed down for generations, and they will produce seeds that you can collect and plant and make more plants with. So you want heirloom seeds. Heirlooms have been passed down for generations. They're going to produce seeds for you that you can save, so that way you can keep your food production going.
Right, because not all seeds are made equally. Some seeds are the ones that were selected, especially the Native Americans did this practice quite often, where they took the hardiest crops, saved those over and over and over, until you have the type of seeds that doesn't require a whole lot of effort and maintenance to make sure that they thrive. So this is what you want to have your essentials, depending on how long you're going to be away. I did not list that there, but thank you for reminding me. Some other additional items that I have here before we begin the raffle is a mallet. I keep this handy. Now, the only problem with this is it does increase the weight of your backpack, but this is going to be the one that I carry.
You have a hook on it.
Yes, I do, but this won't be ideal to hook on because it has an open thing right here, so I can hang it, but it won't be something I can march with, right? So I'll put this inside the bag. It fits in there just fine.
What type of shoes you think should be worn?
Very good question. I personally have fallen in love with cowboy boots. I go back to the old cowboy days, pair of cowboy boots, because they're extraordinarily comfortable. They're breathable. You don't have to worry about foot emulsion as much. It's something that you could take off very, very quickly. You don't have to worry about shoestrings anymore. None of that. If you get let's say you get like some Timberlands, right, or other type of construction work like books, eventually, inevitably, the soles will wear off really quick. The soles of a cowboy boot is very difficult for that to wear thin. They'll last you a long time. And the only challenge with cowboy boots is that you may not have a lot of traction in it, so it may be difficult for you to climb like a mountain space or a cliff with boots. Does that make sense? But that's why I want to have those poles that I can help walk if I need to do that. Now, if I wanted to, there are mesh-like shoes that you can just slip on, that you could walk in like creeks or rivers. I'm sure you guys seen them, but they're like the waterproof shoes that you could walk into the creek with. I would get those so that if I needed to go fishing, I have those, and those have a grip that you can use both for climbing and for wading in the water. Right? That way, I got to cross this body of water. Let me kick off these boots really quick. Let me throw these shoes on, and I can move quickly. But that's a good question. Does anybody have any other random questions for me? Yes.
How many days should we expect to have for, or is there a number?
Unfortunately, there is no number. You have to think long term. That's why a lot of these survival items that I have are going to help you no matter how long you have to bug out for. Whether that's 3 days or 30 or months on end, these items will allow you to start thinking outside the box and start getting creative on how you can create a sustainable shelter over a period of time once you find a safe place.
When it comes to food,
very good question. So she's asking, when it comes to food, how many days should you pack for? I would recommend you packing for at least 72 hours at the very least. But again, you never know how long you're going to be. So my thing is, how sustainable is my go bag? You want to have something where can you hunt and forage for food, which is why the fishing line is critical in there, right? Having some type of powder that you can ration. So now you can just pour that powder in your water bottle and drink it from time to time.
Is there ways to outfit certain go bags for like 3 days, 7 days, 14 days?
Yeah, absolutely. You could outfit specifically for that with the rations that you have for the amounts. It depends what kind of luxury you have, is like with your budget. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that if everyone was focused on the size of my family in my household and having all these essential items per bag, per adult, you should be squared away depending on how long. Because the more people you have, the more you're consuming. So you have a bag for each person, and that should last long enough. So I wouldn't say, well, here's my bag that I'm going to use for a 3-day trip versus a 30-day trip. I wouldn't do that. I would have a singular bag that will be able to last however long I need to go. All the essential items, that's what I would keep. Now, you can always add additional items in your vehicle as you go. Right? So you have this go bag that's going to save you time. But if you have a little bit more time, you want to throw some, canned goods and whatever else, other essentials you want, handle your business. This, at the very least, you have.
Do you recommend buying like a freeze-dried food as opposed to like a bunch of cans?
Yes, you want to find something that is non-perishable at the best. So dehydrated foods are ideal. Dehydrated fruit is ideal, especially, if you start suddenly changing your diet when you're out in the elements, you may get constipated. So dried fruit was very essential. But I like to stick with the powders and the meal-ready bars. I think that'll go a long way. My wife and I, we have stockpiles of grains like oats and rice. Again, rice you can put in pouches that are malleable, that you can store, move around in your pouch. All you need is rice. Rice and oatmeal. Yeah. You'll be fine.
I want to add to that for like the grains and beans and stuff specifically. You can go on Amazon and search Mylar bags. Mylar. M-Y-L-A-R. And they sell them in packs. And essentially, they're like Ziploc bags.
Mm-hmm.
They sell them all sizes, even up to 5-gallon sizes. So you can get a big bag of like rice or beans, pour it in that Mylar bag. And usually, with those Mylar bags, they'll also have like oxygen absorbers. You can just kind of open those, put them in there, seal the bag, and then it will last. I mean, it's debatable, but some people say it'll get you beyond 10 years if you seal it up appropriately.
So the bag is empty and you're putting stuff in the Mylar bag?
Yeah, you're putting the rice or the beans, for example, or oats, for example, in the Mylar bag, and then there's a little oxygen absorber that you can put in that bag, which removes all the oxygen.
Okay.
You seal the bag, and you can even seal it with like a hair iron, burnt. Like I can't describe this.
Yeah, seal it.
It's a heat seal, basically. But that's another method you can do to extend the life.
Just be careful with the oxygen absorbers, because you don't want to use like a 200 cc oxygen absorber in a bag that's small. That's too much for it. So use the larger oxygen absorbers for those 5-gallon buckets.
So they don't come with the oxygen. They don't come with the
Some
bag.
companies do sell the oxygen absorbers with the bags. But usually it's like 50 cc. Yeah. No, those are the small ones.
Oh,
Those are the ones you want to use for the small bags.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So, so again, I want to thank each of you for coming out. I think it's critical for people to think ahead on what you're going to do. I just gave a class recently on situational awareness and our different states of being mindful. Many times we're walking around here completely oblivious of possible threats. When we want to actually start paying attention to like exits and what pictures are happening, we're in a yellow condition threat level. But the worst level to be in is the black condition. And that means that you're overwhelmed. You're paralyzed by fear. You hear something on the radio that something's about to go down or something is happening and you freak out and you don't know what to do. So you don't want paralysis because of fear. Your mind is powerful. If you have been thinking in your head, drilling in your head just a few times, this is what I would do if this were to happen. You'll be amazed at what you're capable of doing in an emergency situation. But if you never give any consideration to these things, you're going to be in a disadvantage. But each of you are here. You answered the call. You showed up. Share your information that you received with somebody else you know. Each one teach one. If you ever go back, help a neighbor, help a family member, help a friend understand these tools as well. We are going to be doing more workshops as we go. If you want to follow us, our website is growspot.org. You can scan that QR code and join our cause, right? So we have a 501c3 organization. Our mission is to provide workshops, resources, access to learning materials to be self-sustainable, and able to really look at land development different and why you should have land. For us, we're definitely going to be using that to get up out of here in case something happens, but more importantly, to grow our own food. So if you go back to the other QR code, it shows an upcoming workshop that we're going to be doing. We have a connection with the Heart and Soul People's Garden. It's a local urban farm not too far away from here where Nika teaches agriculture, teaches people how to grow food, how to be self-sustainable. We're going to be having a workshop specifically on composting and vermiculture. We're going to teach about not only how to set up your own composting system at your home, but how to get into like worm castings, why that matters, how soil amendments actually allow you to grow food that you can use sustainable, because the soil content here is horrible. So you have to do some conditioning to make it work. So this is going to be the first of many series. So you can go to our Eventbrite page there, and then follow us online. We're on Facebook. What's our Facebook? Legacy Growth Spot, I believe. Facebook at
Growth Spots, yeah.
Growth Squad on Instagram.
Growth Squad on Instagram.
We also have a podcast, Five in Progress. I would suggest anybody who's checking into it, check out the episodes with Black Star Prep.
Yes. Yeah, we have a podcast that we do quite frequently. We bring in guest speakers from all over, brothers and sisters who have their experience with land development or survival. And yeah, if you go to that YouTube channel, you'll find a lot of information that you can use in the pinch.
There was a few people that bought land. Are you a part of that bought land in Arizona?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that in the St. John area? That's the same.
Absolutely. So there's a growing movement of brothers and sisters purchasing land in St. John's. And we like to think that we're at the center of that in trying to let everyone know that land is available, it is affordable, and brothers and sisters are moving there as a safe zone. Colin or DeLone, you guys want to speak to the land that we have?
All right, so in regard to the land we purchased, 6 of the 7 of our collective are present today. So myself, Brother James, you did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Brother Prondo, Brother Nakia in the back, our cameraman for today, Brother Delon, and Brother True. So we purchased just under 40 acres with 37 and a half to be exact, in the St. John's, Arizona area back in 2023? 22? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. And essentially, everything that Brother James was speaking about as far as being proactive in our approach, that's what kind of brought this about. And along this journey, our intent is to inspire others, right? So the number one thing is like exposure, right? That is often the barrier that keeps people from these spaces or even entertaining these ideas. So this is a tremendous opportunity for not only for us to share what we're doing, but we learn from each other, right? So community is the goal, right? It's not about us particularly. It's about extrapolating this idea amongst our community, right? Those that align with us on our values and our principles. So if you go to our website, you can learn more about what exactly we're doing, what we have planned, but this is only the beginning, not even scratching the surface on what we have planned. But what I'm excited about is that the community that we speak of, this entire movement is optimized when we participate, right? So it's about community, ultimately. There's a lot more that we have planned. We'll have an active calendar throughout the rest of this year. And obviously, Brother True mentioned our podcast. That's probably the most frequent occurrence as far as just kind of following us, because we chronicle what we're doing from week to week. And we also bring in those specialists from all over the country that specialize in various aspects that are centered on land ownership, self-sufficiency. So please follow us on YouTube, Instagram, all of that. You can find that on the website. I want to thank y'all again for coming. This was great. Also Fanbase. We're now on Fanbase as well, which is a black-owned social media platform. If you're not familiar with it, we just recently started our profile there.
Yeah, and so to add a few things to what we do have going on, so we mentioned Get It Out of the Mud, right? So you guys can definitely go register for that. That's coming March 30th. That is a quarterly series that we're running. And as the brother mentioned, it starts with the composting. So we're going to teach people how to compost, because that's a huge part of, I think the brother and sister here, they shared earlier that they're having issues with the soil. And so composting is a huge part of that. That's going to be our first start to that. As mentioned, all of these things that we're offering to the community for free. So in that, we ask as well that you continue to support the mission that we've got going on as well. So as you can see, there's a QR code there to help support that. Something else that we're working on that will come in October. So please stay tuned to the website, as the brother mentioned, growspot.org. So go there. You can see a lot of the events that are coming up, but this thing called Let's Get Free. So it's a workshop that we're going to host about getting land, how to acquire land without credit or without a bank. Right? So just stay tuned to what we've got going on. We appreciate your support. This is what we're building, community, collectively. We also have merchandise as well that's available. So if you guys can see, this is our logo. All of us are sporting the logo around the room. You can see we do have T-shirts that are available for purchase over there as well. So please check us out there. And again, we just wanted to say thank you for, one, supporting what we're doing, but for being involved collectively as a community.
Yes.
Thank you.